Oh my goodness, my water sounds so crisp. Please stop. You're scaring me now.
Welcome back to another episode. My name is Zach.
I'm Lou.
Welcome to the Appreciation Podcast. Let me not get this wrong like we did on the last video and give you guys the correct episode. Obviously,
I'm guessing 6.
I don't know if you're. Yep. Episode 6. He's right. Yeah. All right. So as you could probably guess, also if you watched the last one, you obviously know. We are doing the Joker movies.
No, it's Victorian era.
It's Victorian era, actually. Sorry, bro. I forgot the scheduling.
Watched 2 seasons of Bridgerton, and I watched Pride and Prejudice to prepare for this.
This right now.
What we're doing.
All right, so let's get into it. No. But for real, we're doing Joker movies, directed by Todd Phillips. Mm-hmm. And as you know, you're going to hear from me at least later in the episode. It might as well have been directed by Jason Todd with how much I feel that he hates the Joker.
Yeah.
But
when did the first one come out?
I think, dude.
Was it 2018? No, it was 5 years in between, so it was 2019.
Yeah.
The 2019 hit movie.
Yep, it was the Joker.
The Joker. And then the 2024
classic
flop. I mean, everyone knows it was a flop.
Yeah.
Flop.
Yeah.
Joker, I can't speak French. Folie de... I don't know.
Folie de...
Something.
Yeah, something around those lines.
It got the Gaga in it.
It got the Gaga for sure, but
I don't know. I like some of her songs, but I don't know what she know about making movies.
I love Lady Gaga, but what does she know about Polaroids?
What Gaga know about cameras?
We're honestly just still on the last episode talking
Yeah.
about Kanye West. We got some more advancements to our technology here. I don't have to do this in post, but I can do it right now. So let's cue the intro.
Ooh.
Dude, that's so cool.
It's again, eventually the soundboard.
Oh yeah, having the huge one.
We'll have one that's like the most obnoxious episode ever made.
For real. Do. Welcome back. Welcome. Welcome indeed. So Joker movies. I was less than pleased when we drew this, and I can safely say I kind of maintained that the entire process of doing this.
This is going to be probably so far the most bitter appreciation episode.
Yeah.
Appreciation podcast episode. Probably from Zach's end, because he's like,
Yeah. I loathe this process.
You're a Batman guy.
I'm a Batman man.
He's a Batman guy.
Man.
He has very strong feelings about Batman in all the different movies.
Yeah.
And that we'll either get into that here or we'll save it for another episode.
Yeah.
I like Batman a lot. My dad and my brother are way more Batman people than me. I'm a Superman guy. But
yeah,
yeah. I think you watch this, and if you know comics enough, even to any degree, you're like, interesting.
Interesting take there, Todd.
This is an interesting interpretation of a character.
Yeah, I know. So, as Lewis said, I am a huge nerd when it comes to Batman.
Yeah, both are, but...
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. I'm just reading off my list.
You just love Batman. That's your favorite.
No, it's good to have, a household where it's Batman and Superman, because we got both interests. But I originally used to have a YouTube account when I was 15, where all I would do is review movies. And I'm 2015, doing it in 2016 as well. We had Batman versus Superman, Man of Steel, Suicide Squad was all coming out. 52 was starting to hit its peak with comics. So I've had some very interesting videos and takes, because around that time was nothing but very interesting DC comics and Batman stuff related. So, that covers around my background as far as it comes to DC. So, yeah.
I mean, if you want mine,
do it.
I've seen all of the Batman films. My dad's a huge Batman fan. Grew up on, again, for me, the best interpretation of any DC characters are from Batman the Animated Series, Superman, The Adventures of Superman.
Yeah.
Even Batman Beyond, Justice League Unlimited. Even getting into like Young Justice and stuff like that's for me. My DC is all the animated projects. I love so much, especially growing up with my favorite out of all of them, Static Shock.
Static Shock is fire.
Goated show.
Go show.
So and I've read like a lot of the comics I have. Like my favorite DC comic, anything being Kingdom Come, which I feel like is way more of a Superman story than anything else. But
Yeah.
I think some of the themes still tie in here,
Mm-hmm.
and sort of like the feeling of bitterness and certain feelings and I guess ideologies about things.
Yeah.
Not necessarily ideologies, but just feelings.
I agree. I had to turn you up just a little bit. You got that?
Thank you.
Yes, sir. But
Turn me up.
turn me up. Well, yeah. Good backgrounds. I feel like we also grew up in such a good time for DC, where we were talking about it. Now that I moved in, yay.
Yes, this is the first episode with us living in the same place.
We're living together.
Yes,
It
is. You know, it's still coming together. It's still a work in progress. Some stuff moving in and out, but
Yes,
we have a wonderful bar.
we do. We have a wonderful coffee bar and regular bar.
Zach's bar and cafe is now open.
Zach's Bar and Cafe, baby.
It is a wonderful experience. 5 stars.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank
You
you.
know, we just be chilling every night, having a good time.
Exactly. And one of those nights,
We watched Joker 2.
we did watch Joker 2, and I was talking about through this experience of like, dude, if I was, as young as I was when I fell in love with DC and I watched Joker 2, I think it would have been more scarring because like the things that I guess like stick in my mind still, and I haven't watched them in a long time about like different DC or Batman properties that I'm like not the biggest fan of. I was really young, but if I had watched Joker as like a 13, 14, 15-year-old, my mom would have heard my rant for like 3 hours about like how this isn't, because I already did that with like some movies where when I give my hot take on them, people are going to be like in the comments, or people are going to be like, yo, what is bro talking about? But
I mean, we've had some of those arguments.
yeah, it wasn't really an argument.
No.
But you also come at it from a good perspective. I'm talking about like people that are on the other side that have like no type of knowledge about it as well. They're just gonna like ride to die for it because they just simply enjoy the movie. Which I mean that's valid, but at the same time it's like
and
not valid when you're talking about like comics and stuff.
even to say with this, there are things to enjoy about these movies.
Yeah, I agree.
We are trying our hardest to appreciate everything that we have to talk about. Obviously, last week we even not even last week, just last episode we had Drake and Kanye.
Yeah.
I don't like Drake.
No.
I really don't like Drake.
That's understandable.
I have a disdain for that man.
Yeah.
However, I came to find some things to appreciate about his music, especially his earlier works.
Yeah.
And we weren't touching on much personality, so I think even with this movie, the first one, I will say, which we'll dive into with our notes, is the easier one to appreciate.
Oh, for sure.
Out of both of them, because it's way more of a complete. It's a complete movie.
It is. Yeah.
The second one does not feel like a complete movie.
No, I agree. I agree. I came around this time with some history.
Okay.
Also, like DC history, and well, there's a lot of like fine points to like each part that we're gonna get into,
Yeah.
but this one's gonna be a little bit more lore heavy because obviously, like we know as well as box office can tell you like how this stuff is received. It's not as black and white. Like it's either people love it or people hate it, or the rare occasion people just feel indifferent about it, which is really hard to find. But so I want to talk about like DC State when the Joker movies were starting to come out. DC as a property, Warner Brothers, with their hands on DC, it was definitely suffering due to a lot of changes. When the Justice League movie was coming out and Zack Snyder was the original director for it, Joss Whedon took over after some very unfortunate circumstances surrounding Zack Snyder's family and the loss that he experienced. So Joss Whedon went and took over that project and
butchered a movie.
Yeah, it sucked, and it was poorly received because of it sucking. And
it's not good.
No, it is not good. And so that was around the state when Joker was coming around, and then also that toxic fandom was increasing because of the fact that like Marvel was doing its own thing and people were looking at DC movies and kind of like wanting a comparison. And it's always been this like weird property where DC movies will be great and then Marvel games will be good. And while Marvel like movies and shows aren't as good, and it kind of flip flops for me. Like the period of time where I'm like these DC movies are not the best, they were having amazing games like Arkham Knight and everything like that. That might just be a reach, but that's for me like how I've kind of always viewed it. Like right now, well, I'm sure like by this time that a lot of people are saying this. There'll have been some like good Marvel movies and properties, but in my opinion, they're not good right now. You know, we got Captain America coming out in a couple weeks, so we'll see then. But like Marvel Rivals is out, and that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a good Captain America movie.
Yeah, me too. But so with that being said, and people doing like a comparison all the time, as you know, I even just did. It grew kind of toxic because people really wanted it to be good, and when the original Joker movie came out, it seemed like a brand new take to DC. It gave us new revitalized interest. It was like fresh air for viewers. It was a thrilling, dramatic, shot well movie, and it wasn't Jared Leto's Joker. And because Jared Leto's Joker divided everyone.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, and so people's attention was fully on this film, and there were a lot of nuances and doing a lot of research for this. I was telling Lewis like because we would take a pause like every 10 minutes in Joker 2, which you kind of need to do. And for people that saw it in theaters, I'm sorry you didn't get to have a pause, but we took a pause. And I'd done research and found out the director, Jason Todd Phillips, he often draws a lot of inspiration from either previous works. He'll tell stories about like semi-universal experiences that might be only relevant to like a certain amount of people, or he'll just completely do like a modern take on an already pre-established entity.
Yeah.
An example of him drawing inspiration from other directors' previous works, the Joker series as a whole is very, very heavily inspired by the works of Martin Scorsese, 1976 Taxi Driver, and 1982 King of Comedy, to be exact, from like scenes to character development. Yeah, that's a very good example of that. Semi-universal experiences, which Lewis will talk to about why the Joker one succeeded as well as it did, but also the kind of character development behind why a lot of people kind of got with the Joker or how it was just received. But semi-universal experiences like the Hangover series, not everyone has gotten punched by Mike Tyson in Las Vegas, but a lot of people have experienced hangovers where you wake up and you're like, what did I do last night? Project X, huge party, not to that extent, because Todd Phillips likes to interject like a little bit too much into that, like showing like it at its most dramatic, like semi-universal experiences. There's a bunch of examples of that with his works, but these are very common. You know, he has like old frat house movies or road trip movies, and it's like, okay, yeah, well, people have gone through that. And then him doing a complete modern take on previous movies and experiences and shows is Starsky and Hutch and A Star is Born with Lady Gaga, who's obviously also in this movie. I'm going to get through one more point real quick, and then we'll just keep trading. Appreciate it. Thank you. W co-host. I'm the co-host. He's the co-host. Yeah. I'm like, I don't really know how to, like, we're both hosts, but co-hosts.
We're both co-hosts.
Yeah.
There's not a host.
You're right. If anyone is,
until
it's
we get replaced.
Until we get bought out.
Somebody buys out.
Yeah.
One person now is the Appreciation Podcast.
Exactly. Suffice to say that Todd Phillips often has something he looks at to make his movies. And when it came to Joker as a character, I don't believe he did his due diligence as much as what he probably should have, because one, there's a lot of source material. Two, even if you were going to go the nuanced kind of route, you know, as much as I'm like, there a lot of the movies where Joker has been in previously, all of them actually are nuanced takes on Joker. Like, they're not complete origins, and yeah, I would have maybe looked at those and been like, oh, hey, maybe not completely rip them off, but go from there and not just be like, oh, Martin Scorsese, who didn't work on a DC property, I'm going to do just a modern take on that and make my dude just like he is in King of Comedy or Taxi Driver. And it's like, All right. Yeah, the average viewer could watch these Joker movies and get like a sense of like, oh, if you watch Scorsese, oh, this is like that, or oh, this is a really interesting character. But to people that the movie is kind of made for, or the people that are going to be entered into this universe, it doesn't really make a lot of sense because, yeah, we've actually, I'm gonna get down to it, but we've actually have a Joker origin story that like no one seems to know because we just haven't been shown it in any other way other than comics or like an animated show, and with like 11 Jokers.
Let's also a couple different things I think to touch on. One, I think there's a large swath of people who are like superhero fans that one don't read comics
Yeah.
because it takes a lot of like time and you have to find all these different issues. Like we've had this discussion before. Why, like in nowadays for people our age,
Mm-hmm.
anime is really popular.
Yeah.
Manga is really popular. Why? Because there's only one, like even if you're reading something as long as One Piece, there's only one
Yeah.
One Piece. There's not multiple different versions of it.
That's true.
Batman is one character, but there's so many different versions of Batman, and I think that's really hard for some to get into. That's why they reboot universes all the time. They're like, you can start here. Here's a new jumping off point.
Yeah.
And I think too, even from having those like origins that are in comics for a character, or in animated properties. Again, for me growing up, the animated properties are almost like that's what you should listen to because that's the best version of every character like put to anything. Best Superman, best Batman, like Batman will always be Kevin Conroy first.
Yeah.
Then you can do whoever you want after that. They're all pretty good except for really George Clooney. But
Yeah. And Val Kilmer.
yeah, I mean Val Kilmer had it. Like they both had to work with how they work with.
Yeah, they're both kind of
both fine actors, but
yeah.
you know, that's like the definitive Batman, or even like the voice of Batman. But I was trying to tell my dad, I was like, hey, you want something new to watch. You love Batman. It's like you should go back and watch the old anime series. Like, oh, it's a cartoon. I'm not gonna watch that. It's like, what is holding?
Yeah.
It's also like the same thing that we see with like Disney keep doing, where it's like we're having a live action version of one of our animated things. It's like, why?
Yeah.
You already told. Like, if there's something new you could add, maybe. But, like, I don't care to see technology be used to tell the same story that you already did in a really good way.
I agree. I feel like with the Joker, it's like you don't have to, like, completely do that. Or, like, you don't need to go frame for frame, right? Or, like, comic strip for comic strip. Even though, I mean, that would be kind of sick. I mean, we've seen it with, like, Watchmen, and it does, like, great. But
yeah.
I think my only gripe is just the fact of like it's been around for like almost 40 years, the same story, and I think now we might see that integrated with Matt Reeves, but it's just kind of hard because it's just like some years it's like understandably like bring that nuance to the story. I mean, like I thought about it, I'm like even Nolan like cannot fit the Red Hood story where he actually becomes a Joker, right? If that's what DC is saying is canon, he could not fit that into the verse as well as Heath Ledger's Joker was written in. I'm saying that, I'm giving that. That's like my stance. I'm like, okay, that it makes it sit a little bit better for me, even though I love Heath Ledger's Joker. It just makes the story and the nuance sit better. But I just feel that that's a story worth telling, or at least once, because one is like the main canon. Like I would rather just not see the origin story if it's gonna be the way that it has been, like with Arthur Fleck, and then being like, oh hey, well no, he's gonna inspire the next Joker, and it's like that's an interesting nuance, I guess. But
yeah, I think I'm gonna save my notes on that because I think I have a question to like ask you later towards the end.
All right.
But diving into sort of movies because you did like sort of the overview of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna rip the Band-Aid off of. I think if you know what the Joker movies are, one, the people who really, really like them, what kind of people they are.
Yeah.
you know, sort of like the audience that loves these movies.
Yeah.
I'm gonna rip the Band-Aid off. They are incel movies.
They are 100% incel.
They're very much, again, did I do my full research and really get from like Todd Phillips' words that this is what he was writing in mind? No. But he did.
Yeah.
And it's very obvious.
I got some
And
quotes.
so there's going to be a lot of, this kind of stuff, like even using Taxi Driver. You look at the idea of Taxi Driver, and not necessarily because the term didn't exist yet. Taxi Driver is the movie that inspired John Hinckley Jr. to shoot Ronald Reagan.
Yes.
For the actress, to get the affections of the actress Jodie Foster.
Oh, yeah.
In the 80s. So, he's even using stuff that has very much links to, violent fringe, mentally ill communities.
I agree.
And we'll have more questions of like, do you touch on those things? Do you try to portray them right? Should you portray them if you can't really portray them in a proper way? So many questions. But ripping the Band-Aid off, yes, these are incel movies. So if you do choose to watch them,
just know
they're not going to be fun. I'm just going to be real. He's the Joker. Nothing about anything in this movie is really remotely funny.
No.
It's all just really sad and depressing, which they do a good job of making the movie look very depressing with that 70s Gotham.
Yeah.
It's so incredibly dirty. I think it's set during a garbage strike.
Yeah.
Because that's part of it too. So there's dirt piled up everywhere.
Yeah. Oh man, like I really just want to kind of like geek out and just be like, so many things that are essential. Not always essential, but just like nice things. Like, I don't know, man. Like, imagine having a Spider-Man movie without like the Empire State Building, right? Or the, but
oh jeez, my bad.
Whoa.
Got that echo.
Nah, but it's just like, bro, there wasn't any Ace Chemicals. You name Arkham Asylum, Arkham State. Arkham is not a state; it's a family. Like, I honestly was like, Todd Phillips watched The Dark Knight, and then he watched 10 minutes of the Telltale games and was like, this is my Gotham. This is my Joker. I'm just going to do another nuance on it. Like, if it weren't for Batman's no, I can't even say that. Like, I honestly don't think like a single comic was read by anyone in this process. Maybe like when they were like casting some of the characters, like Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn was like probably the only thing that I could be like, okay, that's comic, maybe. Everything else, I'm like, dude, I don't even know because, like, bro, yeah, Batman's family, like, dies and you see that happen, but I'm like, that has happened in every movie other than Matt Reeves' Batman. Like, we don't need to always see that. Like,
yeah, like, I'm wondering if that was, like, a mandate, like, put in there that's, like, you need to tie it in with, like, Batman and stuff. Because if this were somehow eventually successful, then it's like, we want to spin off a Batman from it because the first movie did really well. And it's like, add Batman.
Yeah.
And it's like, there doesn't need to be a Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
You could have still kept the Thomas Wayne stuff.
Yeah.
Just Bruce don't interact with him at all.
Yeah.
Because he's like 9.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Very weird.
I think, for me, for watching the movie, and I wish they played up more of it.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe this, for somebody who hasn't watched it, and I'm, not going to watch it now because this part disappointed me because they didn't pick it back up. The Joker, or the movie itself, being a very unreliable narrator for what's happening.
Yeah.
Because there's certain things that happen that you question whether they actually happened or not. Certain things in the movie you think happened, turns out never happened at all.
Yeah.
And they just flat out say it. But then there's certain things that are like canonized by the news where it's like, no, this absolutely happened. Like, obviously, he's the Joker. He kills people. The first 3 people he kills, I noticed something. I was like, okay, so he's shooting them with like a snub-nosed revolver they got from like another guy at work. Revolver has 6 shots.
Mm-hmm.
He shoots like 10 times.
Yeah.
no reload. And so for me, I was just like, that actually happened? Did he do it like that? And then there's like, yes. I'm like, oh, all right.
That's also
Okay.
the thing, like with a lot of movies, like you can tell like when they don't have people behind the scenes who are advising, because there's infinite amount of movies where it's exactly that. Like that's like me and my dad's favorite game, like watching anything action at all. It's like count the shots, because you know if this is a 1911 is going to have this amount of shots in here. Okay, if it's a revolver, easy, 6 shots. If it's even like an AR and you don't see like, you know, I don't like an extended mag or a drum mag or anything like that, you should know how many shots are going to be in that. Counting that, watching movies, like once you understand. Now, if you watch, like I think one of the only series that actually does that is like John Wick, like where it's like, okay, he shot the exact amount of times. You watch any action movie from the 90s, they're shooting without reloading like 50 shots through like a 9mm, and you're like, brother, there's like 7 to 11 max in there, maybe more if it's like slightly extended. But yeah, no, that it's an interesting point, but at the same time I'm like, yeah, no, people make movies that like put a gun on there, they don't know what they're doing at all.
Yeah, but I think like there's parts of this movie that it's interesting because there's parts of this movie that seem incredibly clever about what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
But then, like the second movie, and maybe that's just the thing about all these movies altogether. Unless just for the first one, unless you are a very much an incel,
Yeah.
this movie is incredibly unrewarding.
I agree.
And I think even so, and then the second one, if you are an incel or just anyone, the second movie is just completely unrewarding.
Yeah.
Again, there's certain things that you can be like, oh, interesting or fun, but like you get to the end and you're like plot and you're like, wow, why did I watch this?
Yeah.
We went from nowhere to nowhere and I thought we were moving.
Yeah.
And that's specifically with the second one. But with the first one, it's like there's just certain things where you're at in there and you're like, oh, maybe they're trying to be clever and there's some interesting things that are going on. They hint at in other ways and they just completely drop it. And it's like, okay, well, all right. Not going to let, theories run or anything.
I don't know, but also like to bring like the nuance thing like back to and talk about the origin. Like I feel like personally, if there was like a little bit more presence of like actual like comic knowledge, I wouldn't be as like depressed and upset. But like every part of these characters, other than like the base things that I could like walk up to a 10-year-old and be like, hey, what do you know about Joker and Harley Quinn? And like they tell me like aesthetics and like slight moods. Like that's pretty much how these movies were made. Everything behind that, I'm like, all right, bro. Like you're making this person be like, as they say, like an incel. Like Joker is not an incel, and then you're making Harley Quinn manipulative when she's the one who gets abused, and you're taking the power away from her story by making her this, mean woman who like is supposed to represent girls that like manipulate incels for like what they're worth. I'm like,
I mean, I don't even know if she's like that. Obviously, she manipulates them in the set. Like, she's the only character who's like driving any part of the plot forward.
Yeah.
And again, Gaga, good actress with what she was given with. It was fine. Like I wrote specifically this.
Mm-hmm.
I think Lee Quinn, because she's not Harley Quinn, it's just Lee Quinn.
Harleen Quinzel, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's in essence a good characterization. It's just a really bad interpretation. I think you have the elements of who Harley Quinn is. Of where it's like, okay, mental. She does manipulate tons of situations. She's just the one who's more getting manipulated.
Yeah.
All these different things, like a bit like she's off kilter, she's off canny, like, she's a wild card.
Yeah.
And I think stuff where it's like, okay, the elements are there, I can see it, but then it's just like you interpreted all this in a bad way. And I think that's because like you already started out with a version of Joker that isn't a good characterization or interpretation either.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say that Joaquin Phoenix is a great actor.
Yeah.
He does so well with what he's given. Like, that's one thing with these movies. I can't complain about the acting.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Go watch other, like, Joaquin Phoenix films. Go watch Her. Like, just anything else. Because he's really good.
Yeah.
You know, Gaga's a good actress, too. When she's doing it. But, like, this, it ain't it.
No, this,
you know?
Yeah, I hated this. No, man, like, this makes every other, like, DC property, in my eyes, I'm like, way better. Dude, like, the movie, like we're saying, is shot beautifully, all that. It's just, I hate it, man. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, and I get, like, you don't want to be too repetitive over some things, but, bro, like, everyone that isn't us or isn't a nerd who doesn't know a lot, like, you're just getting fed the wrong thing. So, like, when that becomes, like, your basis of knowledge, it looks very off kilter.
Yeah. At the same time, too.
Yeah.
I feel like there's hints to the sort of, like, incel thing that, like, Joker is playing on and everything else being way less fun or, like, way less cool than people think it is. Because it's almost like you think that they're trying to be like, yeah, being like this, acting on these impulses, being violent, it's awesome. You know, everyone's going to love you because that's society embraces him at the end and everything starts to fall apart as he's getting arrested.
Yeah.
And he has a movement made out of him and everyone's like, oh, that's the, you know, people walked away with that. But then I look at certain things where it's like, oh, if you're trying to say this is cool, and you look at, like, one of the most iconic parts of the movie where he finally is, like, full Joker, and then he does the Joker dance on the steps. And I had never seen the full dance before. Yeah. And it's the most uncoordinated, stupid thing I've ever seen. And it's like, oh, man, it's almost like a joke of, like, you know, it's like when you try to walk around and you're like, man, I'm so cool right now, and you just look like the lamest person ever. It's so uncoordinated. It's kind of hilarious.
Yeah. I think, like, I put my notes away because I'm like, I think I have, like, everything in my brain now, like, so solidified of, like, how I'm feeling about it that I'm like, okay, I don't necessarily need to. Yeah, because, I think, like, when the first movie came out for me, like, when I watched it, because I watched it in theaters, because I was excited because Batman DC guy, I thought it was interesting because it was Arthur Fleck and not, you know, the Red Hood. So I'm like, all right, well, let's see what happens. They put Bruce Wayne in here. Maybe something will pay off. Like, and I think, like, that's what you were saying, or at least, like, how I felt it, like, when I watched it at first. Like, I'm like, okay, well, they put Batman in here, and I feel, or, like, Bruce Wayne, but I feel like they needed to do that only for the fact of, you know, we've talked about, like, Joker and Batman kind of necessarily need each other on certain things. Like, like, even Harley Quinn, like, the show on HBO Max, great show. They integrated a lot of different portions and storylines, and, like, as fun as it was, once they were like, okay, you know, we need to continue this going on, you could see, like, they started bringing in a lot more characters, like, a lot of, like, other outside properties, because it's like, all right, man, we can only beat a horse, like, so many times before it's like, what are we even doing in here anymore? And I think with the Joker, I honestly feel like Todd Phillips was such a very, like, it was a social commentary, and when we're talking about the movie and we're talking more or less, like, about a superhero comic movie being a lens as to something, I think that, at least for me, where I'm coming from, that speaks more to itself than anything else. Because when we watch, like, a lot of other, like, Batman movies, Superman movies, you get a little bit more rumination behind it, of, like, sitting down and being like, okay, well, Superman's view on society and how Zack Snyder perceives Superman was this way, and I get to gather my feelings on it. The Joker movies felt like it's just like, I'm telling you what my message is, and you get to choose, like, how you're feeling about the Joker and how he's presented or not. Like, both movies building up a character and then building this character to have like Joker as a part of himself rather than this as the Joker, or he becomes the Joker and maintains as the Joker. I feel like that's like where it's a very interesting dichotomy, because like that's like hardly ever explored in any other facet of the Joker or DC, I feel, because it's like, here's this man's life sucks. Something bad happens to him, and any iteration, whether it's, you know, falling into Ace Chemicals as the Red Hood, and then that being, or whatever you want to take away as an origin in the comics, they're mostly usually the same. Then he becomes a Joker. Even if we go with all the nuances and you're like, Heath Ledger's Joker and his stepdad or dad was doing this, carved a smile on his face.
Well,
I'm just saying, like, with
no, that's what, just only with that one, because we've had discussions about this.
I'm just saying, with the nuances in mind,
Yeah.
he becomes the Joker. He doesn't like have this, am I this guy or am I the Joker?
It's not like a half and half thing. It's like, no, he just is the Joker always.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and to hit back like to what I said with Heath Ledger, I'm not a big nuance guy, but that works perfectly, because as far as what counts as being the Joker, that stays as the Joker because he becomes the Joker, and then that's all he is. He's not this like whiny incel boy about like, oh my god, am I the Joker or am I Arthur Fleck? And it's why do we need the social commentary, bro?
I mean, I think you can have, okay, I'll go into it. Also, another sort of rug pull, a little bit of spoiler territory, so, you know, spoiler warning for people.
Don't watch the movies anyways, but spoiler warning.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you want to, you know, we do this exercise for ourselves, and then we talk about it because we want to build a community of people always trying to, like, appreciate and see sort of, like, anything positive in this stuff. And again, like, did I have a decent time watching this? Yeah, of course I did. Like, I had a fine time. Are they good movies? No. For me, any movie, I judge it the same way I judge wrestling, my favorite thing. I don't care if it's good wrestling. Okay, I love good wrestling. I love bad wrestling. The only thing I hate is boring wrestling. I don't want it to be boring.
Yeah.
I want to be entertained of some kind. And with this, because we were forced to watch it, yeah, I was. If you aren't and you don't want to, do not watch these movies. But again, sort of that the other interesting thing for like Joker 2, of coming off of Joker 1 success, you know, incels are crashing out. They're like, we feel seen, you know, this is what we gotta do, you know, more Elliot Rodgers and stuff. Don't. Bad idea. Because he did horrible things. You know, then you got to wait 5 years.
Yeah.
For the second one to come out. And
yeah,
in essence, one is not marketed, and this has been happening a lot with stuff. It's not marketed or let known that is a musical.
Yeah.
That doesn't really tie into the plot at all.
No.
So it didn't really need to be a musical.
No.
Also, very little of the musical, like only like half of it, is Lady Gaga singing. And she's a good singer. The other half is Joaquin Phoenix singing. Or, you know, even if it's Arthur Fleck, I don't know if Joaquin can actually sing himself, or like this is just supposed to be Arthur Fleck singing, which would mean it would be bad because Arthur Fleck doesn't do anything right. So then even the singing and the musical parts are, for the most part, like half of them are unsatisfying. In an already unsatisfying film. And then the bigger rug pulls, if you were one of those really eager fans waiting for the second one because you really love the messaging of the first one, the second movie, the whole entire theme is basically he was wrong.
Yeah.
He is not this cool hero or anything else. He's a loser.
Yeah.
He's a loser with mental issues, and people can manipulate him to be whatever he wants to be, and then the moment that he chooses to be, those people, he didn't bring the right people in his life, and they leave him.
Yeah.
And, spoiler, little pause, so you want to turn it off. Yeah, he dies at the end. He gets stabbed by someone who is seemingly Heath Ledger Joker. Again, now, nice little touch, because I don't think either of us noticed it. The same exact thing. No, nice little touch, because the same exact thing that Joker said to him, like the Heath Ledger kind of ish Joker, is the same exact thing that he said to Arthur Murray before he shot him. You get what you deserve. So at least that's somewhat of like the smallest little tie-in of trying to be appreciative of something. Of like, oh, okay, you're a charlatan of the Joker, and so now we have that as, I guess, the Joker. Again, not satisfying. I know you're trying,
dude. Because like I just said earlier,
you're having an aneurysm.
I didn't know that, but I literally said that Todd Phillips only watched that shit to like base his Joker up. Yep. Yeah. No. Yeah, it's a nice little touch.
It's like, here's the thing. It's something, at least, like, for the whole entire thing, it pulls it back into itself. Like, okay, themes.
I just feel like a diehard Kendrick fan being like, he breathed 3 seconds after this bar. I feel like that's going to tie into... Yeah, no, but...
No, and here's the thing. I want to try to be like, oh, they put good... Like, I looked up other Easter eggs. Like, not that they did a really good job of, like, blocking it out, but... someone was able to, I guess, look hard enough and figure out anytime that they're watching something that's not the news, they're watching Looney Tunes. Specifically, which, has the Looney Tune ad opening.
Yeah.
But specifically one in particular. They're watching Pepe Le Pew.
Oh, yeah, how it ends.
No, it's like in every other scene, which is just basically a foreshadowing of his relationship with Harley. Of like, oh, he keeps running around thinking that they're the same thing, or she keeps running around thinking that they're the same thing, when in reality it's like, they're not. You're not the same species, not remotely close, and the affection will never be reciprocated. So I mean, there's that, but yeah, it's not a great or fun movie.
I'm sitting.
I mean, I think there's other things that it touches on. Like, I think another thing that this movie also talks about is sort of, I guess, like, glamorization of, like, spectacle court, too.
Yeah.
Whether it's the glamorization is in his own head, like a mental thing. I think we talked about this, of, like, how in the car, in the police van while he's driving up there, like, this is going to be the trial of the century.
Yeah, how many trials of the century are there?
There's like 50 trials of the century.
Yeah.
The first time trial of the century was used, I think, was in 1920. Probably, I think if you ask somebody, oh, what's the trial of the century, the first one they're going to say is probably O.J. Simpson.
Yeah.
There's tons before that. Like, there's so many. So it's a term that basically just means nothing. And then also, at least in the first half of the movie, media and perception play a huge part into, like, what's going on, like him doing media interviews and all this stuff. So I think there's, like, certain things they touch on, which I think the topics themselves deserve to be touched on. Did he do a good job touching on them, Todd Phillips? No.
You know what?
Because there seems to be zero follow through with anything. It's like almost everything's half baked.
When you think about that, and you think about, like, to your point, and then you think about, like, the movie, it makes me think about, like, all right, like, let's say this was actually well received, and, like, they start, and then, like, okay, there's going to be another Joker. This Joker is the inspiration. I'm done with the spoiler warnings. I'm not doing that.
I just said it. Word.
Yeah. So, and then we have Bruce Wayne, right? Like, in this universe. It makes me think of, well, Bruce Wayne becomes Batman so he can, like, protect people against, who just, like, wrong things happening because that happened to his parents, right? Every version of him says that.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the Joker's perception being this way, and then maybe this other Joker coming into play, would Batman then be, like, the antithesis of, like, Gotham's viewpoint, or would they just look at this new Joker? It's a worthwhile thing to think about. I'm happy enough that I'll never have to see that come to fruition, but it does beg the question. I don't think Todd Phillips was thinking that far ahead to, like, oh, maybe, because, like, I don't know, his perception about, you know what? I think I'm right, because he said his perception of Batman was nothing but...
He's an alpha male.
He's an alpha male, and whether that's true or not, yeah, Batman also is, like, very traumatized.
I think what happened, I don't want to read into the man's head too much, but I think what happened is him saying that Batman being alpha male and using just that sort of language and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like he knows the sort of like incel-y thing. I think when you're just kind of like a not super jacked guy, like super quote unquote like masculine
Yeah.
in that sense guy, it's easy for you to just sort of fall into it when you don't feel like you belong in anything. But at the same time, I think what happened, or what I could assume, because I know I would feel the same way if I was like, man, I like Taxi Driver, I like all this stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna make a movie about like, people on the fringe and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And then he makes a movie, and it's really successful, and it's really bitter. He's like, yeah, I stuck it to the guys, I showed them. But then he realizes that only losers like his movie. Like, only people that he's like, ooh. Like, he wrote it out of his system, and then all of a sudden is looking at the people who actually like his movie. He's like, oh, no.
Yeah.
And then this second one, he's like, I don't want to do this. I'm rug pulling everything, and then I'm saying there's never going to be a sequel again because I don't want to be associated with this.
Yeah.
I want to go back to, like, Hangover, where I it's about getting drunk and partying. That's me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could just feel that energy of where he's just like, yeah, so second movie, what's the plot? I don't know. He goes to court or something. Well, hey, dude, it's like, what's the theme? He's a fucking loser. He sucks. What about, we want to add Harley Quinn? The studio said add Harley Quinn. It's like, okay, she's way smarter than him. She manipulates him. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't even think like my comic knowledge is like necessarily needed for this point, just to tell you that this sucks. Like, if you want to know why it sucks, read some comics. Other than that, yeah, man, like.
Well, I think I have some questions for you. I think there's some ways to go.
No, I'm just saying, like, because I had like in my notes, and like as I'm talking about it, I'm like, yeah, if you know, like, I just want to say like real quick how I felt like with the Harley Quinn, and I like Lady Gaga. I thought she did good acting. Like Lewis said, just bad that. It's hard. I think Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn got to like see like the emancipation, right? And however you feel about the movie is cool, but that story is like very close to the truth of like the Joker. Abuses Harley in a lot of different ways that they would not even show on movies. They wouldn't talk about like all like the really bad things that the Joker does, but she gets the opportunity to kind of climb out and take her story back as hers, and then she kind of in a lot of different iterations becomes necessarily not like always the best, but she becomes like very helpful and like a good asset to the Bat family. And I just did not see that, or like see the manipulation to her, and I feel like it would speak a lot more to society as a whole, other than just like, yeah, man, like obviously there's a lot of manipulative women out there. I'm going to tell you, like, I've seen a lot more manipulative women than I've seen like the best in the bunch, but it just makes the best in the bunch shine brighter. And I feel like Harley's transition into being like a very, very solid character, and, just her emotional growth and her healing as well, is something that definitely deserves to be explored a little bit more. But, yeah, that's my rant, and I know it probably seems hilarious because I'm dressed like in complete clown makeup, but I just want to see a very healthy movie.
Dog, we're dressed like clowns talking about a movie that's ass.
Yeah,
like I think
the joke's on us.
I think we might be clowns right now because we had to watch these.
Yeah, I think so too. But free Harley Quinn,
jokes on me. All right.
Mm-hmm. It's air. I had to. This whole process.
Well, I got some questions for you, since we've dived enough. If if our audience, if you want to try to watch them, I think watching them knowing the context will make them way more enjoyable than just not knowing.
Yeah, DM us as well about like your takes on it.
Yeah,
and,
actually, speaking of that, leave comments. Let us know. We want to know what you guys think of stuff too.
Yeah.
Anytime we get a topic, if y'all are researching or trying to do it with us, we'd love to know. I think we're gonna start posting our Google form link too for people to start adding topics for us to, research and like do, because we just want to grow more and more and have everyone being appreciating stuff with us.
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely in the links to this video and just everywhere on our pages, our socials. You want to DM the pod, you want to DM either one of us, come up with ideas, or just like give your take on it. Be more than happy to hear it, even if it like doesn't align. I feel like it contributes to the conversation, and maybe when we come back and we do our like touch ups on videos, when we touch up this video in the sense of like we might review it down a year. Zach, you're not watching these movies again. You're just going to talk about your state. But yeah, no, it'd be nice to just hear from everyone. Like the video. If you like our takes or you just think it's a good thing, share. If you listen to this on audio, as usual, we appreciate you. Hope you like the new changes to like the cover art and how everything we're trying to do is leagues ahead of where we are currently, but it's setting us up for future success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I got some questions for you.
Hey, ask them, brother. Ask them.
Actually, no, before I do that, I did want to touch on the history of that sort of like incel stuff to be like, because I found it very interesting.
It is a very interesting topic.
Because I actually went and looked it up, meaning I just looked at the Wikipedia article for it.
Yeah. Community source.
Oh, man, it's so interesting how like stuff just happens, and it's interesting watching things get co-opted, almost like how this movie was. Where it's like it gets blown up into something that it wasn't necessarily meant to be.
Okay, yeah.
So like the term incel, the first time it was ever really seen on anything. Obviously, if you don't know, it stands for involuntary celibate. Is a group of people, mainly men. Again, they like to describe mainly as mostly white men, but just men who don't think that they can find like a partner or somebody to be with. Because of societal things of like physical requirements and such that don't really fully exist, and it sort of just comes out as a big like mental disorder, and there's a lot of violent tendencies involved with it. Like there's been a ton of different like mass shootings and other things that are involved with this community, and they've been banned on multiple things. Like they got banned on Reddit, which it's Reddit. How do you get banned on there?
Yeah. And the Joker shootings too. I mean, that's an interesting point to talk about.
Yeah. So I mean, this character is an interesting one. It's just you didn't really necessarily see him as an incel before this.
Yeah.
But the term came around in around 1997. Somewhere they attributed it to 1993, but the person who really invented the term said no. It was created by a Canadian student, queer Canadian student who just wanted to make a blog about her for other people, or a mailing sort of list thing.
Yeah.
To have a community of people who found it just like really hard and challenging to find partners. And it was men and women.
Okay.
And so at first it was INVCEL. So incel. And then it just got shortened to incel. And then she went to college, realized, she's bisexual.
Yeah.
Became way more comfortable with herself. And then by the early 2000s, she just dropped it. And then it got co-opted into what it is. And the way she described it in an interview in 2008 was, it feels like a scientist making some big discovery and then finding out it was used to make a weapon.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Oh.
So, yeah, interesting stuff getting co-opted. I thought that was just a little bit of touch, like, sort of like with this movie, blown up into something that it necessarily shouldn't have been.
I agree. Yeah.
But, into my questions.
Okay, let's do it.
So we're talking about one. And I think I know I know your answer to this.
Okay.
You've answered the opposite of this.
Okay.
What makes the best version of the Joker, like the character? Like, what are the key core components of a character being the Joker?
The Joker? The laugh, color schemes, stature, very, like, aesthetic things, I guess, like, very visual, like, granted, you could be me or any comic nerd and like being really nitpicky, but I mean, really, that's it. Like I said, like all the nuanced Jokers, like were good. I just did not. A lot of the nuanced Jokers were really good. It's just I have not really found a story that I'm like, this is what like the story behind this Joker is worth it all. But in the same sentence, like most of like the Batmans that these Jokers came from have not been like my favorite Batman stories yet, and I mean that's okay. That's just my opinion, right?
I mean, I guess let's dive deeper into like what makes a character Joker. Because
Okay.
like even Arthur Fleck, the pink, orange, and green color scheme is not there.
Yeah.
He doesn't wear it. Wears like a red, blue,
Yeah.
red and yellow, and then the makeup is blue and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I think for me, the best versions of the Joker, like here's the thing, I understand the origin of the Joker as a character in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's ever really needed. Like for me, people love it. I love the Heath Ledger Joker.
Mm-hmm.
Would I say it's my favorite? No.
Mm-hmm.
Second, probably. Because we all know number one is Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill.
But
Yeah. I would agree with that, honestly.
yeah, he's the best Joker.
Yeah. I just remember
And
him
all
too.
the But the thing with that version of the Joker is one, it's not like he was unintentionally funny.
Yeah.
He was just like, I mean, he was like unintentional things would happen and then he would just make it funny.
Yeah.
But he's still terrifying at the same time, which I think really works for like the Nolan Batman. But I think it's the fact that he is like, it almost feels like so many different things he's doing for the joke.
Yeah.
Whether it's like joke of this actually being funny or joke of like the jokes on society or whatever.
Yeah.
And like he's just pure anarchy.
Yeah.
It's not like a sad anarchy. It's like, no, regardless of what, I would just want to see things burn because it would be funny to me. Like he's purely
Yeah.
a sociopath.
Yeah.
Sociopath, psychopath, they're two different terms, but I forget which one is which. He's one of them. And I think that works really well because, like, even with going into his origin, where he gives all these different stories of his origin, I'm pretty sure he's lying every time. He's never telling the truth. He's like, yeah, my father used to cut me with that. And it's like, dog, he probably never did that.
Yeah.
It's like all these different things. It's like every time the story is different, it's like, yeah, because he's fucking lying. The guy's a liar.
Yeah.
And he's lying just to see if people will believe him. And it's probably, I mean, I'm reading into it. But as a person who likes to tell like a little lie every once in a while and just see if like people believe me, I'd be laughing. If I gave this whole entire story and all of a sudden they're, oh man.
It really like depends on the like Lewis is saying, like your perspective, because like when you think about it like that, then it makes a lot of sense. Like if you go from like canon and I guess like what story like has a greater effect into DC, Red Hood being the Joker, or sorry, Joker being the Red Hood and then becoming the Joker, what plays out a lot smoother for later stories with Jason Todd becoming the Red Hood, because if that wasn't the most reliable and like they had proof of that, then why would he be Red Hood,
Yeah.
It makes like, so any story where Jason Todd's present or
then you need the actual
you need the Joker being the Red Hood previously for be his inspiration. But no, I agree. And also, I mean, that's a solid point of well, I guess it doesn't matter anyways because there would be a new Joker. I'm tired of talking about it. Yeah, because I'm like, Arthur Fleck would never be the Joker dead. And I'm like, well, he's dead anyways. Yeah, good.
And then, I mean, I think it's just, there has to be some element of, like, the character being somewhat funny, because he's the Joker.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard to do the Joker and not characterize him around Batman.
Exactly,
because that's, like, the most important relationship in his life.
Yeah.
Is his relationship to Batman. And I think if you're making a movie without that, it's weird.
Yeah.
Which then leads me to another question for you.
Get it?
So, interesting thing that we've seen.
Yeah.
We have seen a lot of different movies about comic villains.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's Sony with their whole entire Spider-Man universe without Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. I think the acronym It's the Sony Marvel. I think that their acronym comes out to SMUCK.
It's a shit fest.
Yeah, it's not good.
Nah.
So 2-part questions.
Give it.
Part 1. Is it worth making a movie about like a comic villain where they're the lead? Comic book villain, and especially in the sense that we've been seeing without the hero.
No, I you know what's crazy is like I've been fed on my algorithm for no reason like the Lion King movies,
Mm-hmm.
and it always talks about like how most of these movies are kind of always like different nuances, but it's tell the exact same story about like villains being portrayed in these movies are just like people without like healed trauma. And I feel like the more that we see that, it's just gonna get to the point of just like, all right, buddy, give it up. Like, but no, I do not think like it's cool. I feel like mini series like Penguin's a good idea, but I do not think we need a whole like cinematic storytelling where it's not even mentioned about this dude. You know, like.
But I think even with the Penguin, I think he gets worse.
Yeah.
Like there's a direction that goes in, and then it's to set up something else. So
yeah,
it's really small scale and it's contained.
It also came after the Batman. Like it wasn't something leading up to it.
Yeah.
But like long story short, with like what you're saying, no, like I think that's. I don't like the Venom movies, but I think like that's something that they have to its credit is like the fact of like always like even if it doesn't come to fruition, like always kind of like tying into like, oh, but then there's Tom Hardy in this multiverse, like, oh, maybe he'll fight him, and it's like, all right, that's its own thing, but
then I think we're also going on the same thing of the thing that you see, and it's almost like they don't know how to write it. Like I think the people who wrote the Penguin know how to write him as not the hero but as the protagonist.
Yeah.
And something that is more of a crime story than more of a superhero story.
I get that. Yeah. So I like
and
the
then
mob
have
and
him
stuff.
have a thing. But like Venom, Venom is the hero in the movies.
Yeah.
He's the lethal protector.
Yeah.
He's more of an anti-hero. Which is why, like, I think the closest that you really can get and do it effectively is, like, if you had, like, a Punisher movie. A character like that. Anti-hero is, like, the closest that you can get. Because I just don't know how you write that. I was even trying to think of, like, other examples. So, like, you have Kraven.
Yeah.
Kraven's the hero in his movies. Spoiler. Don't watch the Kraven movie either. It's not very good.
No.
I like Aaron Taylor Johnson. He's a really good actor. But that movie's really bad, and guess what? That whole entire cinematic universe is going up in flames. He fights the Rhino.
Yeah.
So he fights a villain. It's his villain origin story. Oh, what else? Like you had Venom.
Morbius.
It's Morbin time.
Yeah.
Now go watch Morbius, because it's actually just the greatest movie ever made.
No.
Yes, it is. It's the best. But no, I was even thinking of like other things of like, I think really great thing or really great, not necessarily movie, but like a story. My Villain Academia for My Hero.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're the heroes, technically.
Yeah.
Because they're fighting Redestro.
That's true.
And the PLA.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah.
It's kind of just hard to like do that without.
Yeah.
Now, then my second part of the question.
Okay.
What villain would you want to have a movie made for?
Mr. Freeze. 100%, because like, you could do a post-credit, or if you didn't even include Batman, it's like that movie would actually be something where you could have it be set as like, I wouldn't say like a rom-com, but like a drama, romance, like psychological, like that one. Yeah, I think like if you did like a good like, oh, this is how he met Nora, and then this is how like their relationship was. Oh, then she gets sick. Oh, then he mentally declines and goes crazy and starts needing to like come up with funds illegally to take care of her, and like freezes her. Like I feel like that's a good story within itself, and like that's a lot more like the way that I just laid it out, more than like 3 acts, and you could like contain that into a good enough point to where like, oh hey, maybe Batman will come, or it could just be a really good story about like tragic love and then what people do in lengths to get love. I'm gonna flip that on you. What would you do?
So if it had to be a Batman villain, I think just because they don't do enough with the character afterwards, and I also really like Dark Knight, Harvey Dent, Two-Face.
Yeah.
Because I don't think a lot of the comics still play off. They kind of just have him lean like the moment he becomes Two-Face and it goes, he's just full bad.
Yeah.
I think you need to play it off of like, he's still trying to deliver some sort of justice. It's just incredibly skewed and like, skewed in the way that he wants it to be.
Have you ever played the Telltale games?
I have not.
You're gonna play on my PlayStation because they do a great job of doing that. Honestly, like play Telltale games, please. That's a good way.
If there's anything to say, for stories for so many comic book characters, if you are not a fan but you do like these characters, and again, I think there's something to exploring these characters and merit, and like again, they are. Right now, our sort of modern Greek and Roman mythos right now is these characters.
Okay, yeah, I like that. Comparison.
Obviously, like, you know, you don't worship them like they are because they're fictional.
Yeah, obviously.
There's only one.
Amen.
Jesus.
Amen.
Amen. But I think if you really like these characters, you should look at all the other properties about them, not just like the live action stuff.
Yeah.
Because, like, again, if you really like Batman and you're only watching the movies, you're missing out on the animated series.
Yes.
One of the best versions of Batman. If you're like Superman or Batman or anything, you're missing out on so many of these other stuff. You really like Green Lantern, you have a horrible movie that you like, and you're waiting for a really good TV show. But guess what? There's Justice League Unlimited, and there's the Green Lantern TV show from like 2011.
Yeah. That was a good one, too.
It was really good.
Yeah.
And again, just because it's animated doesn't mean, if anything, it's written by really competent, smart adults. If you even just like the DC universe as a whole, watch Young Justice.
Yeah.
That show has plot.
Yeah.
Crazy plot.
Yeah, for sure.
People die. I watched this when I was like 13.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
It was. Watch Smallville.
Smallville, you know.
Watch like the first couple seasons of Flash and Arrow.
Yeah.
You can skip DC Legends of Tomorrow. That's understandable.
Yeah, I mean, it gets good. Like,
Titans is okay. Titans is okay.
I'll let you.
I'm saying that Titans is okay.
I'll let you have that. I'm not gonna say anything.
Okay. If we're gonna meet we're gonna meet in a compromise because you know my takes and you know like what I've said.
Yeah.
I've already grown from like our Titans is okay.
I'm gonna let you have that. I'm
Thank
not
you.
gonna say anything.
The later seasons do suck. I will say that. First couple seasons, decent.
Alan Rickman's in it, so I'm happy.
Yes.
He's awesome.
The Brave and the Bold Batman, hopefully.
Brave and the Bold Batman is so good.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like even just the TV show. But like, yeah, I'm hoping.
Yeah, I hope he gets casted.
It's open for Alan Rickman.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
How many heroes would he have played? Like he played Aquaman.
Yep.
In Smallville, he played Hawkman, and Titans, and then he'd play Batman.
Oh, well, it was just Hawk.
Hawk, sorry, yeah, you're right. And then he'd play Batman.
Yeah, 3.
I feel like
we're forgetting the best hero of them all,
Thad
Castle.
Yes, sir. I feel like if you had reversed Hawk and Aquaman, it would have been an upgrade, in my opinion, because it would have been like Hawk, all right, Aquaman, better, Batman, top.
Yeah.
Batman, Superman, like pow right here.
I mean, it's a credit to him for taking the roles and being like, yeah, just like being part of this universe, it's fun.
Yeah, I mean that's like Ryan Reynolds like playing like Deadpool when he could. You know what I'm saying?
Because, they were like, hey, you can either play him right now and then maybe something will happen down in the future. You can play the worst version of him, or we're gonna get somebody else to do this, and you're never gonna be able to play him. And he's like,
okay,
all right, I guess I'll play this terrible version.
Yeah, no, that's facts.
Everyone hates.
Yeah. What? You got any more?
Yeah.
Big questions for me. Big questions for me. I like the way I speak in the mic.
I mean, I think this is our last big thing to touch on, like for something.
Okay.
Obviously, we're talking about 2 movies that touch on very fringe, and I guess I would say also like vulnerable communities.
Yeah.
One, like, what way should media treat and portray communities like this? Where, like, I'm not even talking just like incels. Like, I'm like people who are.
Yeah.
I don't want to get. If people know me, you know my politics.
Yeah.
MAGA people. You know, people who are on this very much fringe, like QAnon people. People who are like just so far out there, but it's like to the point where it's like it's almost you want to give into this rage and because you feel like you're validated by something.
Yeah.
And society, if anything, wants to just forget that you're there, so they ignore you and then ridicule you, which then just emboldens you more. It makes you feel like you're right because you're like, well, they're against me.
Yeah.
It's like, how should media portray these people? Should it be sympathetic of like, but you can't be too sympathetic to the point that you're almost kind of giving them validation. Because there is, in some ways, like a slight bit of validation where it's like, yeah, the world can be a little bit cruel, but at the same time, if, like, for incels examples, like, the world can be a little bit cruel,
I think
and people can be mean,
but there always has to be, like, a sense of, like, unbiased, and I feel like that's the good thing about, like, superhero movies and, like, just the premise behind, like, superheroes in general, or at least, like, a story, like, where there's, like, unbiased people, or just someone who, like, is kind of removed from it all, is the fact of, like, you know, it's a good way with, like, religion, too. Like, thinking about it, savior for all, doesn't matter. And I feel like that's the thing. It's, like, we could sit here and, like, try and, like, figure out how a lot of people should be betrayed. In reality, the world is just way too complicated. Like, even with, like, the left and the right, there's, like, way too many subgroups and people that are into it or people that just say it just so, like, they can have it, like, on their, you know, voter registration. Like, there's way too much to it to like really like kind of like narrow down exactly. I feel like that's what's really cool about like Superman and Batman, for example. Like, you know, just talking as like a superhero perspective, because I mean that's kind of like what we're on right now. It's like they're going to save whoever, and usually to like their chagrin. Like, you know, we saw that with like Man of Steel, Batman, of being like, why am I always having to do this? Is it even worth it? Right? Like, but that's the good thing. Like, that's the cool and relatable thing. It's just the fact that, hey, we're going to be there to save. Like, incels are going to be incels. Like, people that are, you know, against society. Like, because everyone's annoying to someone's eyes. Like, we're annoying to other people's eyes. So how will we be portrayed, you know, in different media? And, yeah, no, I think it's a lot easier to, like, talk about these things or like write certain movies or just like talk about certain characters when they're literally just the way they are because that's the way they are, and it's not too much of a like the minute I feel like you really get into backstories or you try and like figure out, okay, how do I go about a new take on this character that touches to reality, it gets a little hard. And there's kind of like always like okay, well, how am I going to continue to tackle this? Because like, you know, the way that we view mental health has like drastically changed how, you know, it was like when we were teenagers. Like, bro, I remember like before like 13 Reasons Why came out, like no one ever talked about it, or like there was never anything on media that was like super like widely spoken about it. And then now when you talk about that, or you view like people, like everyone and their mother like will want to like self-diagnose themselves or will say, oh, I'm going through this, and the third. And it's like, yeah, we all feel that, but way before then it just never was talked about. And like they viewed the Joker as crazy because quite literally he is crazy, you know, like, and it's not just from like a diagnosis or something like that. I bit my teeth. He fell into an acid vat, and then his entire goal is just to kill a bunch of people. That's crazy. You can't tell me that's not crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's why I felt like if the comic was put in here as much, I felt like you might be able to tell a better story. Like, is it a good story about, you know, viewing incels and like...
Oh, I don't think it's necessary. I think partially.
Yeah.
I think... Because I feel like almost like what you were touching on too is like, it's easier and probably more helpful.
Yeah.
To stick... Because, like, I think we should have media that does talk about hard topics and hard things to deal with. Because, like, certain stories get covered up.
Yeah.
But I think it is something to still stick to, like, or still try to keep the underlying positive, hopeful parts of it. Because, like, obviously, like, you're saying, it won't be comprehensive for everyone.
Yeah.
You can't do the full experience of, like, oh, I want to tell a story about, like, hey, these guys, they're incels, they feel very angry and, like, rejected by society. I don't want to give them a thing that's going to make them crash out, but I also don't want to make them look like more of losers than they actually feel.
Yeah.
But it's like, how do we humanize these people and then try to move it into a way of like, hey, they have issues. Really, in reality, if they just worked on themselves,
Yeah.
they would have the things that they want. That's like the big thing. Like, I mean, like, that's just the big point. But it's like, how do we portray that properly without some people being like, no, this, and it's like, you're giving them too much. People talk too much.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Like Lewis's take on this in general, and like, just me being me was like very helpful, because like he opened my mind, and I really appreciate you, bro, for like every part of what you interjected along the way, because I feel like I'm a very stubborn person, and I feel like it allowed me to think outside of that. Like, granted, obviously I still have like a lot of like strong things, but I'm just really appreciative for him through this process, and like I want to be able to do that, and I feel like I will have my opportunity to like help you like as we get to things that we're not always excited for. But no, it was a good way of looking at it, because if I view this specifically as like a Joker, as a DC movie, it sucks. Nothing but sucks. But you kind of have to look at all the annoying parts in my mind when I view this movie as like annoying compared to like how you want it to be as DC or a comic book, and you view it more as like an actual story that isn't Joker. It's a lot easier and a little bit better to do that, because you get to just view the message, and how you take away that message is up to you. But yeah, no, I appreciate Lewis through this, because I've already seen the first one, but I rewatched that, and then I watched the second one by myself, and I had to DC wash my brain. Like, I had to watch Matt Reeves' Batman. I had to like read something. I had to like,
you're like, I want to watch something
good. Yeah, I had to play the Arkham games again just to like get the dirt of Todd Phillips movies out of my mind. I'm like, I need to scrub this clean, because if not, I'm going to Arthur Fleck crash out on society right now, because the TV man would have been someone else. I would have been
talking about like I'm glad my perspective has been helpful for you throughout this journey.
Yeah, man.
Because here's the thing, I don't think people realize you did the same thing for me last episode.
I appreciate that.
Because you know what we did not do? We did not talk about the personalities of the people that we're doing. And that stopped me from going into a thing of like getting into a full like just rant of like, why are they like that? Duh. I'm like, no. I stayed focused on what they've produced and being like, I'm able to find some appreciation in that.
Yeah.
And I came out enjoying, most of the experience. Obviously, I don't enjoy my top Drake listener badge.
Yeah.
From having to listen to all of Drake's albums, and now YouTube Music thinks I'm a Drake fan, and I'm like, please stop. Don't show this to anyone.
Yeah.
No. But I think I got one more little bit I want to do before we sign off, because I think when we were talking about the Joker movie, when we were watching Joker 2, we got to this discussion. I think as quickly as we can.
Yeah.
A little bit of explanation.
Yeah.
We need to rank the Batman movies.
Rank the Batman movies?
Yes, we need to rank the Batman movies, because I know how you feel about this.
Okay.
I know, and I think it'll be great for everyone to see.
Okay. Yeah, this is gonna be fun editing, but you're gonna be with me in like an hour when I have to edit all this.
Yeah, we'll go to like McDonald's or Cookout or something.
Oh yeah, we'll get some.
We'll enjoy it.
Okay, are we counting? Are we counting? What are we counting? Are we doing like live action?
We're just doing the live action, like the.
Okay, I'm gonna try and create like something we could have on the video. If not, I'm sorry, I'm learning. Live action Batman films. Okay, in chronological order. Okay.
No, there's a ton, but we're just gonna go. I mean, so let's start with.
Oh my gosh, bro.
Let's just do the top 5. Top 5. That makes it simple.
Okay, top 5 Batman movies.
Live action.
Okay. For me, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go in reverse order. Okay. Never look anything up on.
What, Google?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, because it'll give you everything possible.
Yeah, even when you type live action.
Oh
movies,
yeah, no, I'm looking at the exact same thing. It's all right,
brother. Okay.
I think I can do mine pretty easily.
Okay, you go ahead.
Okay. It is. This is gonna be a bit of a hot take.
Mm-hmm.
It's Batman Forever at 5.
Okay.
I grew up watching that movie. Had it on VHS, so I watched it all the time. And I love the Jim Carrey. Then it would be Batman Begins. No, it would be Dark Knight Rises, Batman Begins, The Batman, Dark Knight. That's my 5.
Understandable. We don't judge.
We listen and we don't judge. Hey, hear me out.
Joker. Hear me out. Okay.
Hear me out. You sound like.
I love that order.
You sound like. What's his name? You know who I'm talking about, the basketball guy. Is it Flight? Yeah, you sound like Flight reacts.
Oh, dude, yeah. Okay. Honestly, there's a lot of Batman movies. Let me. I'm gonna try and put it in a order real quick. So we're going to go. I'm just gonna list out the ones I like, and then try and rank them. While we're in this dead silence, real quick, while I'm trying to.
I will say I could replace Batman Forever with Batman Returns too.
Okay. Yeah. That was on my list.
Those are 2 close ones for me. I saw the first, like, the Batman with Michael Keaton. I saw way later than those 2.
Oh, dude, that's crazy. No, I feel like I saw, because like I was obviously like we're older, but we're not that old. Like sorry, no disrespect, but I saw that one around like the exact same time, so I get it. Okay, I'm almost done, guys. I'm so sorry. I really just need to come up with some.
No, it's because he has. Spoiler: he has very strong feelings about this because he's a Batman guy.
Yeah, I am a Batman man.
That's why I specifically made him do this, because I knew this was gonna turn into something.
Yeah, thank you, buddy.
Hey, you should have been slightly prepared for this, because when we were watching Joker 2, we paused the movie for like 30 minutes just going back and forth talking about Batman movies.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're doing this on the pod.
What really sucks about it, in my opinion, is like there's really like there's not a lot of like there's a lot of like good Batman movies, but like most of them have like a very, very like big thing to look into that like kind of makes it bad, or like doesn't make it as good as like what you would think it would be.
I think for you're very much you're a Batman purist.
I am a Batman purist. Thank you.
You like a very specific interpretation of Batman.
Yeah. Did you give reason? Oh, did you give reasons for most of yours?
I mean, I can. I mean, so with it, like Batman Returns, also being sword-tied with Batman Forever, I grew up watching those. I like the performances in both, even with Val Kilmer. I enjoyed them as a kid.
Batman Returns was Michael Keaton still.
No, Michael Keaton. Then the Batman Forever was Val Kilmer.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So like I enjoyed,
sure.
like I just grew up watching those, so those just hold a very special place in my heart.
Yeah.
Batman Dark Knight Rises. I think it's the weakest out of the 3, but I enjoyed seeing that movie so much, and I still enjoy watching it. I think it's the weakest because of how it had to pivot without Heath Ledger being around, because I know he would have been a part of the plot if he was still alive.
Yeah.
So I think it pivoted and just did like stuff, but I think in terms of what Christopher Nolan was trying to do with the trilogy, he was able to execute the theme of what he wanted to tell about society, with it just being society and figures.
Yeah.
I think he was able to execute that very well. Batman Begins, I love that movie. Well, I was like 6 when it came out. So it's just very near and dear. I had the toys of it. Batman training.
Yeah,
and ninjas.
the game too.
Yeah,
Dude, the game was tough.
Just so much about it was like cool for me. And again,
did you ever the rubber batarangs?
Yeah,
dude, those are tough.
Is Christian Bale my favorite Batman? No.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think he's a good Batman? Yes. He's not my favorite one. Then 2 being the Batman. Now here's the thing. I love that movie. I just think like for just the big significance of The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is just such a hard movie to top as a movie in general. Because even if it wasn't a Batman movie, it's just such a good movie. You're having different thoughts. So that's why I just can't put The Batman above it, even though The Batman is a spectacular movie. I saw that movie 4 times in theaters.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Mm-hmm.
But The Dark Knight is The Dark Knight. You know what it's like? It's like having a Michael Jordan, LeBron James conversation, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, but man, it put up numbers, it was doing it, but then at the same time, but you're like, but it's The Dark Knight. It's Michael, like, bruh.
Yeah. No,
even though I'm a LeBron guy, it's just.
I get you. I think I formulated my list. I'll do the same thing you did. I'll list them out and then I'll give my reasons.
Yeah.
Number 5, I have Batman Begins, 2005. Sorry if that was annoying. Mm-hmm. Number 4, I have Batman Returns, 1992. Number 3, I have Batman, 1989. Number 2, I have The Dark Knight, 2008. And then number 1, I have The Batman, 2022. Yeah. Matt Reeves. Batman Begins, same thing, honestly. Like, I had that one and Adam West interchangeably because my dad grew up on Adam West. One of the very first Batmans I saw, other than the animated, was Adam West. So that just held a special place in my heart. Like, that was like my huge experience with Batman. That's also like where the commonality between like me and my parents' like love for Batman came from. But Batman Begins was really good. We talked about it, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a big Nolan man. I'm not a big Nolan Batman fan at all, even though like 2 of them are like in this list. Obviously, like I said though, there's a lot of Batman movies.
It's because you're a Batman.
I'm a Batman purist.
So
yeah, and we're not gonna get into that because it would take a very long time. But I do appreciate the fact of there was a lot of different stories to it that like hadn't been explored. Granted, do I think all of them were good because I'm a Batman purist or explored the way they should have? No. I think there was some what do they call it?
What?
Like when white people get casted for
whitewashing?
There was a lot of whitewashing in that.
Yeah.
Yes. Not up for debate. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Batman. Yes. Batman Returns 1990.
Not disagreeing with you.
No. It's just the
Do you think I'm gonna disagree with you, the black man in Black History Month, about whitewashing?
No, you're right. Sorry. Know my place. Yes, King. Yes, King. Sorry, King.
Dude, I'm not Dr. Umar. You don't have to do all that.
Yes, King.
You don't have to do all that.
Batman Returns, 1992. I thought this one was... I know it's 4th, but fudge. There's a lot of reasons why my list is the way that it is. I love the Batman Returns because I thought Catwoman was super dope in it. I love the fact that Penguin... And it was like a rated R movie, right? Like, I remember watching Batman because I was, like, at a young age where Batman's my obsession, like, every day. But, like, watching that and, like, watching the Penguin bite off someone's nose, like, ingrained in my mind. It was also just super dope. Like, that was the thing about, why am I blanking on his name? The guy, Tim Burton. Like, Tim Burton, like, whenever he did live action, he made everything look like a cartoon or animated, like, by design. And granted, it might not have been functional, like, the fact that he couldn't turn his neck, but aesthetically, chef's kiss. Number 3, Batman 1989. I put it in my notes originally. Jack Nicholson was probably the most true Joker to like what they're calling canon now, and that was released in 1989. The Killing Joke, which is like what DC claims is like their canon for Joker, which also is canon if there's a Red Hood, right? Was published in 1988. So this movie is being shot before it was published, but it also like they had the acid bat in there. Like there was just a lot of like cool tie-ins that, as a true comic fan, you look at that movie and you're like, that's a great movie. Granted, there's ups and downs to it. Number 2, I have The Dark Knight. It's very pivotal for me. That's like honestly where I started getting really into the Batman. I do not like the way too dark suit. Not a huge fan of the dark voice.
You're not a fan of the voice.
I'm not in a Christian Bale at all. Fucking.
You're not a fan of the voice. Why would you like the voice?
There's just a lot of nitpicky things that I just hate about it, but I just don't really like about it. But it did a lot for me, and for its sentimental value, I'm placing it up there. But if we're gonna talk about, it's good. Also, Heath Ledger's Joker is amazing. I don't want to get the impression that I don't like Heath Ledger's Joker. I don't like the writing behind everything in the fact of the nuance, but what I do appreciate is the fact that he is Joker, right? Like I just wish the story was a little different. But I mean, that's just me, and that's okay. I mean, it's respectable. If you love it, that's cool, but at the same time, I'm not going to tolerate someone being like, well, he is the comic Joker. Then I'm going to be like, all right, buddy. But number 1 is the Batman, Matt Reeves. I think Robert Pattinson is dope as Batman. I think like as a first Batman movie, probably one of the best. I love that it's a neo-noir. I'm a huge noir fan. I love the detective aspect to it. I also like the fact that when you see Batman go all out on fights, he's going all out on fights. Like there's a lot of room to grow with it. And I think like that's what's really interesting, because a lot of Batman movies, like it's like an amazing suit and then amazing suit. Like the level ups are like really small, but I feel like the level ups that we can see in Matt Reeves' Batman are going to be very significant. I feel like that's very indicative of like where he's at like within his storyline, because it just feels like in certain other Batman movies, like it's like, okay, yeah, we're going from this Batman, and then the next one it's like he's got this decked out bike or plane and his suit's like way better now and everything is just smoother for him. Yeah, it's like, nah, man, you gotta like really watch Batman struggle and like keep his ear to the street. You get to see like the moment where he is like, you know what, I can be more than just a dude like going around and beating people up. Like there's just a lot of depth to it that makes me appreciate Batman, because I feel like the Batman is a Batman's diehards like movie, and I feel like that's like what Matt Reeves like did beautifully. And whether they bring him into the larger portion or not, I just hope that they continue to like make Batman movies like this now, like where it's like there's an intended storyline and purpose around it. And I don't care if Joker is never in there, like because they did great with the Riddler, like that's a nuance like where I'm like, okay, you did good, like it's still Enigma.
It still has the elements of the Riddler, of specifically the Riddler being like, I need to show that I'm smarter than everyone.
Yeah.
And it's like, you give him a dark backstory, you make him more of a terrorist, but like, again, it's not like he's necessarily laughing in his face, but like,
yeah,
the small things of like, he's like, oh, I know who you are because I know you didn't come from a working class because you don't know what this tool for ripping up carpet is. Like all these like different small things where he's like, now his plan of, oh yeah, I want to get back, or in some way I want to get back at the rich who left it. I'm going to flood the poorest parts of Gotham.
Dude, yeah.
But
no.
That's not an oversight, man. It's just like, that feels like in canon a thing of like, you're so smart, but you didn't look at this one thing because you're too absorbed by violence.
No, I honestly think he even made a reference to that. Are you recording?
Yeah, I'm about to.
All right.
I think we're going for picking our
next
topic.
Yeah, so in 2 days from now, whenever we release this, Super Bowl is Sunday, so either we're going to release this on Monday, and then Victorian era episode will be Wednesday, or will come out on Wednesday, or we'll do release this Wednesday Victorian era episode on Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we live together now, so a lot more content. We're going to be recording a lot more.
A lot more content.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yes.
well, let's pick this next episode. We've retooled the wheel a little bit, so we're not gonna pick straight up, because if it lands on Zach's choice, then you actually get to pick.
Yeah.
Or if it lands on my choice, I actually get to pick. So we're gonna leave it a little bit of surprise. All right?
It's recording, right?
Let me double check, make sure. There we go.
Right,
it is recorded.
Appreciate it.
All right, and we are spinning.
Woo!
One spin. Let's see what we got. Yes. Yes. You've never seen it.
Yes, I have, but not all of it.
Oh, it's even better watching all of it. We got Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball.
Let's go. We're starting from the beginning.
Dragging these balls. Yes, sir.
We're starting from the beginning. You're playing the video games.
Yes.
We're going through all of it.
Yeah.
We are going through all of it. Awesome pick.
Oh,
awesome.
Dude. Another anime.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think those are,
I think that's the best
some
one.
of our favorites.
Yeah.
Is watching the anime.
Yes. I'm so excited now.
Yeah.
Dude, that's good.
But something to look forward to in the next couple episodes. Again, a lot more content, a lot more episodes are going to be coming out.
Dude, we got to do our hair. You got to, before you ever get your hair to it, just let it go and then we'll form.
Well, no, what I'm going to do, we'll pick characters to dress up as.
Yeah.
I know who I would want to be.
I feel like I'm going to be Trunks, because I feel like my hair would be a little bit more
You could totally be Trunks.
Yeah.
I want to be Piccolo, because I'm so Piccolo.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Maybe I'll be Piccolo. If I decide to cut my hair, I'll be Piccolo with waves.
Dude, that'd be tough. Yeah.
Like the meme.
Yeah. I love that.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is wrapping up this episode.
Yeah. No takes needed.
Our little bit of call to action. We're gonna post some of our questions and the questions that I had in the description of the video and everything. We'd love to see what y'all have to say about it too. So like, comment, subscribe, do all the things.
Do all of
engagement farming.
Please.
We are aura farming. We are engagement farming. That's the goal of 2025 is what we're doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah.
Boom. I'm Zach.
I'm Lou.
This is the outro.
Peace.
Yeah. Whoa.
Fuck it up.
Yeah. Let's go. Ooh. Dragon Ball.
Dragon Balls.
Sucked. Todd Phillips is a bitch.
We done. No more. Joker.
Yeah.
I don't want lips to be red no more.
Woo! Tough.